than 1 million students at 68 UK universities are to be hit by further strike action on Monday from members of the University and College Union as part of a long-running dispute over pensions and pay. These strikes have been on and off since 2017.
Yes, I remember they first started. I was still at university.
Yeah, I remember them at university.
The Universities and Colleges Employers Association has recommended that universities should withhold full pay for lecturers who take action on short of a strike, such as not filling in their colleagues as they are only, quote, partially performing their duties. Now, one university chief added that the UCU seemed wedded to strike action and indifferent to the effects on students.
Yes, well, Lucia Guercio is the Arts and Divinity Faculty President at the University of St Andrews, a fourth-year student from Italy. She's endured these strikes alongside remote learning for the majority of her time at university. She joins us now. Thank you, Lucia, for speaking to us this morning. What do you make of the fact that many of your lecturers and professors might be going on strike?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Actually, yes, all of my professors are going to strike beginning next Monday. And personally, I think I do support them. I totally understand where they're coming from, but I also understand how some students might feel frustrated. As Arts and Divinity Faculty President, I've received a lot of complaints from students because most of them have already missed some classes due to COVID-19 since they've been ill, and there's no always dual delivery service allowed. So they're just afraid they're going to miss out too much of the program. One thing I need to say, though, in favor of our professors is that apart from the good reasons they're having, they're not going to put anything that's not treated during the missing lectures or hours of lesson in the programs. So they're being very complacent and they're giving us extra extensions where they're needed because they're understanding the disruptions they're causing. I think especially in St Andrews, there's a great community and kind of mutual understanding between students and teachers. So we kind of get along together and trying to collaborate and get out of this strikes period once again by being closer together rather than tearing each other apart.
Do you think it's fair that students have been asked to pay full price, the full cost of going to university over the last couple of years, despite the fact they've missed so much because of COVID and despite these sorts of strikes?
So I do believe that the cost of university should be redimensioned, but because of the basic fees, I'm lucky enough not to pay fees in Scotland because I'm European. But I do think there's something that should be rephased, especially regarding your own home income. That's not quite a thing in the UK compared to other European countries, for example. What I do believe is that professors still need to be paid, and they actually worked much more during the COVID pandemic because they had to divide up classes, learn online techniques of dual delivery or online delivery mode. So there's definitely a lot of works from university staff. What I think universities should have done better was a greater deal of transparency because students were not told very clearly since the beginning of the pandemic whether classes were going to be in person or online. So every semester we were hoping to have in-person classes and then being demoted to online, or we even come to campus and pay for accommodation when all of our classes were online. So I don't think that's the tuition fee the problem, it's all the accessory costs, accommodation or food, catering and everything that came with it that maybe could have been avoided if things were planned in advance. Especially since the pandemic has been lasting for 2 years. I understand the eagerness of university staff to have students back on campus, but at the same time, some students really travel from far away, like Australia or Latin America. So I do believe a greater deal of transparency and clearer, streamlined communication could have helped.
It's interesting that this union is choosing now to pursue these strikes, as if they don't have any understanding at all about what people have been through in the last 2 years. I understand that they may be mitigating the strikes in some ways, but to me that just sounds like they're sort of robbing you and giving a little bit back and asking you to be grateful. Is the idea that these lecturers Is there a sense that they feel like they're better than everyone else? Everyone's had a torrid time over the last 2 years. Many people have lost out. Many people have lost out financially. And yet they're now taking time away from you to enrich themselves.
I believe they're not enriching themselves because they won't get paid during the strikes. And some of them are striking for the full period. That's almost 15 days straight of no pay. What I can tell you is that all of our teachers are completely on the side of students. They're going to facilitate us, and they're still going to reply to emails, whether they regard extensions or dissertations. So there's no animosity between students and teachers. The problem is that this fight started well before COVID, and if they just postponed it before COVID, it could just get forgotten. So I totally understand why they're doing that, and I believe they're doing that now rather than during the pandemic because there's more impact and they can actually pick it outside. While during the pandemic there would have been no point, and their message would have not been kind of communicated. I still see the point of being frustrated, but I think it's not we've been robbed of so much time by COVID as well as the university experience as a whole that it's not going to be these strikes this time that are going to change our perception of the university experience. And as long as we're not penalized in our marking and our exams, I do believe there's a kind of balance. Of course, for future year, I hope they sort out the issue and we can have a completely normal school year without masks, with only in-person teaching. But I also am understanding that the whole university environment is completely changing and evolving toward digital entrepreneurship. So this is something that we're going to see after I graduate, unfortunately.
Well, Lucia Guercio, thank you so much for joining us this morning to discuss that. It's a really unpleasant time to be a student, I think, at the moment, whether that's sort of a student in secondary school doing the national curriculum with all
right
the
up
stuff.
To university.
Yeah, university as well, because of those strikes there.